Can't take me anywhere.
No, never have been able to.
Hey friends, you're watching BrainStormAcres. I'm Henry.
And I'm Irene.
Today we're going to talk about our homestead planning for 2021.
We sat down earlier and made a list, and then remade the list, and then remade the list.
And did I mention that we made the list?
So we tried to give, we're trying to give like the 20,000.
No, remember yesterday.
We're going up for the 100,000. Number one on the list is irrigation.
Yeah, we have a really nice irrigation system, but there's some tweaks that need to be done on one piece of the irrigation system, and the other piece needs to be completely redone.
Right.
Well, at least the parts in the yard need to be redone. I also have to do some new plumbing down in the orchard, but we'll talk about that in a later show because I think we're going to be doing some things down there this year.
Right. Basically what happened was the irrigation system in the yard grew organically. We didn't know how many beds we were going to have when we started it.
Right.
We did reorganize it about 2 or 3 years ago so that the numbers on the various valves and stuff corresponded with things and made more sense. But we've expanded one of the areas too much. And
yeah, we took what we call Zone 11, which was the piece that was designed to water what we thought was all going to be foundation plantings
right
along the north side of the house. And we extended that so that we could plant some food plants. We could irrigate the composted straw bale beds that we made last year. Oh, and we also added 2 new beds.
There's an iris bed, then there's a wildflower bed, and then there's the 2 composted straw bale beds, and yeah, so it's too big and it's too hard to adjust the amount of flow. I mean, you can use emitters and stuff like that, but it's gotten to be a nightmare logistically.
Well, it's not exactly a nightmare, but the real problem is that it's too long a run. There's too many different variations in the amount of water that each of these plants requires.
Right.
So
we just got to break it into pieces.
Yeah, we're going to have to go do that, but now I have a problem because that controller is pretty much out of spots where I can hook up.
It's got 1 spot left, that's it. So we've got another controller down by the studio that controls the orchard and the garlic bed and some of the straw bales. So that may need to be replaced. We know we've got at least 1 broken pipe. It was open because we were working on it. Number 2 on the list is the water system.
Yeah, the water system.
So we bought a new pump this past year so that if we need to haul our own water, we can. The old pump that we had worked, but it took a couple of hours to empty the tank.
About 3 hours. And about 3 hours to empty the 300-gallon water
so
trailer.
about an hour per 100 gallons. So it was just too slow.
Yeah, so we went and bought an inexpensive water pump from a national chain that can pump the entire 300 gallons out in less than 10 minutes.
Right.
That makes it something that's doable. Now, along the way, that also means I have to do some repairs on the water trailer.
You want to build a stand of some sort for the water pump so that we've got it kind of jury-rigged right now to keep it clean and safe. But we want to have backups to our backup. Right now we've got a really good water delivery guy, super reliable. Stuff could happen.
Stuff is going to happen.
Number 3 on the list is the electric system.
Oi! If you've watched for a little while, you know that I rebuilt the entire solar electric system here this past fall. It's working really great, but there's a couple of things that I need to go in and tidy up. One is the wiring from the charge controllers to the rest of the system.
Mm-hmm. We also had wanted to we've been wanting to upgrade the ground mounts, the racks that hold the solar panels for a number of years.
Yeah,
these were intended to be temporary.
Yeah, when I put them in, we used some wood to hold the pieces together, The rack itself is made primarily of aluminum. It works really, really
Right.
nice. The problem is that it needs to be higher off the ground, because when we do get snow, which we did last year and the year before and the year before, the snow would pile up at the bottom.
Right, and then you have to actually shovel a surface away, so you wind up shoveling yards of snow in order to create a slope so that you've got reflection into your solar panels, which is kind of a pain. Yes.
So we'll be reusing the racks and rebuilding the ground mounts.
Right. We'd also, cross fingers, love to add a few more panels to that. So that's a possibility too. We need covers for 2 different generators, at least, maybe 3. And the problem with building covers here is if we don't do it just right, we're going to wind up with a giant rat and mouse festival.
Yeah, the rats move in. If there's even a small area where they can get into the box, they're going to get in, and they're going to build a nest, and they'll chew up the wires, and
Fun things like that.
then we'll be back into repairing things.
We also need to connect the big generator, the big diesel, to the system so that if we really do need to run off a generator for a while, we could.
Yeah, we use the small generator. It will run the house just fine, but you can't run a vacuum. You can't run the grill. There's a lot of things you can't
It doesn't
run.
like it when you run the toaster. You definitely cannot run the microwave and anything else.
So we just want to have the large generator able to be used. It'll be more convenient for those times when we need a generator to power our house.
Right. Okay, number 4 on the list is the garden. Now, I will be doing a separate garden planning video telling people how I figure out how early I need to start things and all that kind of stuff. And talking about what I've already been figuring. I was actually working on it some today. What I've been figuring out, I went to one of the seed suppliers today, and there's already a notification up. We'll put a copy of that on the screen here so that you can see it. And last year, they actually completely shut down sales to the general public for about a month and a half.
Right, about 6 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, and they're already limiting the number of days that ordinary people can buy seeds from them. I'm sorting the seeds this morning. I'm working on the planter, and I'll do a whole video on that. We will be amending the beds. That's something we do every year.
Every year, we have more amending materials available to us now than we did in the past, but we're going to be picking up some more compost in at some of the big box stores.
And we'll be making at least 1, maybe 2 new composted straw bale beds. We've got 2 from last year that we really like. We're going to be topping those up because they're shrunk down probably about 50%. But we'll top those up, and then we'll use some of the additional straw bales that we've got sitting around to grow at least 1 more bed.
Yeah, we've decided we're going to do it. The question is exactly where we're going to put it.
Right.
So, we have a lot of different options. We have at least 2 places outside of our fenced-in yard where we could put a straw bale bed. We're just not sure which one we're going to use.
Yeah, that's we've got a lot of question marks in our own heads right now in terms of how fast the irrigation gets repaired, how fast this gets done. A lot of that will depend, because once we've made a decision and we've got the irrigation in place, it doesn't take us that long to build the composted straw bed.
No, we built the 2 out here in, I think, a day.
We just used a couple of scrapped garage doors that we had. They're aluminum. They make a great container. They're not going to rot anytime soon. So we just used some old plywood that we had and some pieces of garage doors. When a garage door rolls up and they've got those individual panels that roll up, we just use those. Hydroponic rebuild.
Yeah, we decided this past year when we were looking at the year in review that we needed to do something different about the Dutch bucket system. And that means that I need to rebuild the rack that holds the Dutch buckets. And so what I'm going to do there is I'm going to use a bunch of CB's ideas out of his greenhouse. If you haven't watched CB's Greenhouse and Garden, you should go take a look at it. He does some really slick things. Right now, the issue for me is figuring out lumber prices.
Well, we do have the sump dug in the ground and the bucket to go into it, the big tote. One thing that we could not do all year that we are just starting to get onto now is the weed burning and clean up around here.
Yeah, normally every year I go out and burn any place where we have tumbleweed and any place where we have the white horehound, which is a really
Invasive.
nasty beast. It gets a lot of burrs on it, it'll get on the animals, it'll get on us. It spreads like wildfire.
It's a perennial, so you have to control the seeds, and the easiest way to control the seeds is to burn it. But this year we couldn't burn from like April. Usually we don't get shut down until maybe June. And the last category is called hot projects.
Ah.
These are also things we couldn't do this year because we couldn't risk setting the place on fire.
Yeah, these were projects that have been sitting for 2 years, a little more than 2 years. But about 2 years ago, I was able to start doing some grinding with the angle grinder again. Unfortunately, last year there was a fire ban, which meant that I couldn't cut outside, which is really where that cutting needs to be done. My plan is to build a forge that's powered by propane, so that Irene could do some other forging and I could do some other forging, and also a furnace to melt a bunch of aluminum cans that we have and other pieces of aluminum, things like that.
And we're also thinking about, we have a bunch of old small tanks. I want them to make me some bells.
I have a bunch of other tanks that are thicker walled. Some of them were fire extinguisher tanks, some of them are old scuba tanks, which I'm not going to pay to have rehydroed because there's not really a market around here for them. So my plan is to make some bells out of those things, because it would be nice to have some bells out in the garden.
I think it'd be fun to be able to have bells when you want them and stuff like that. We have some chimes right now. We don't have any place to hang them. So that's one of the 9 million things on the list. Now we could have made this list, like a stack of paper this big. There's stuff I want to get done in the house. There's more plaster work that needs to be done. There's some repainting I'd like to do. There's some finishing on the cabinets in the kitchen I want to finish up.
There's plenty of house painting outside to do. There's sealing of various things. And if we ever get a day that's not really windy and the temperature's above 50 degrees for at least 24 hours, I have a bunch of sand, it's a sand type material, that I'm going to put in the lines between our flagstones, water it in so that it forms a surface that will allow water to go through it, but it'll keep sand from coming in the house.
So that's just a few of the 9 million things we have planned for this coming year. I think we'll be busy.
Maybe more than 9 million things.
Yeah, probably.
Well, thanks very much for watching. We hope this was of interest to you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and
oh, ring that notification bell. I'll be doing some more shorts, probably to do with some jewelry things, and yeah, anytime I've got a couple of ideas for homesteading type shorts too, as we get into the spring months and things. So yeah, we'll be doing a few shorts and other stuff too.
thanks for watching. We'll talk with you later.
Bye.
Bye.